Welcome everyone to episode 41. This one has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has.
It has, with my good friend Kristen Reynoso from Jackwin Legal and Connect Esquire, which we're going to talk about all things. How are you? Thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to be here with me.
I'm awesome. I'm so happy that I get to see you.
I know it's been a while.
It has been a long time coming. I've been waiting for 2 years to be on this, so I am happy you made the time for me today.
Listen, I had to get my reps in. I wanted to be all ready for you, so.
Now that you're established, I get to be on, so I get it.
Even though we worked out some kinks of last episode, but there's always some kinks, but it's progress, not perfection.
You're doing a great job. You would never tell.
Tell everybody who you are, what you do, all that fun stuff.
So I'm Kristen. I am a criminal defense attorney. I am the managing partner at Jackwin Legal. I run it alongside my amazing husband. I joined forces with him about 1.5 years ago. And then we also run a mastermind group called Connect Esquire because we found that there was a need for attorneys to be able to have a community where they can focus on their business instead of working in their business, and people to bounce ideas off of each other. And there really wasn't anything like that out there. There's a lot of networking groups, there's a lot of coaching groups, there's a lot of conferences, and there's a lot of education, but there's nothing that brings it all together. So we created it 1.5 years ago as well.
I love that. First of all, one business is hard enough. To do two businesses at the same time. Talk to us a little bit about that. What was that like?
I'm a go big or go home kind of person.
I like that.
So if I'm going to start something, then might as well just start two at one time. Definitely a lot. Not for the faint of heart, but it's been an amazing journey. There's no perfect journey, I would say, but working with my husband, what we do is we really balance each other very well, and we run both organizations together, both the law firm as well as the mastermind group. And so we focus on our strengths. So he is the numbers guy. He's very behind the scenes. He doesn't care about being the face at all. He's very big on education. And I am the people person. I love me some people. People energize me. And so I focus on the contacts and the connections and the networking, and we make it work. So I'm always the one rallying the troops for membership when it comes to Connect Esquire. When it comes to Jackwin Legal, I'm out there shaking hands, kissing babies, meeting people, wonderful referral partners to bring in cases. And it works really well for the two of us, but it's definitely a lot. I got a lot of really good experience from running the firm when I worked with my dad. And I always felt like it was my own firm. So I managed a team there. I focused a lot on networking as well when I was there. And I've brought everything I learned from there over to working with my husband. And it's very amazing because we're building our empire together and our visions are fully aligned. So, whatever it is that we're trying to do, we do it together, but we focus only on our strengths. And I know he's never going to be the networking type.
So I can't get him on the podcast.
he probably would. He would do the podcast because he doesn't. I don't think he sees this as networking. Okay, but he's not going to join a BNI.
Right.
So that's not him. And I think that's been our secret sauce is to play up to your strengths. I'm not going to be looking at a spreadsheet all day because my eyes are going to glaze over and I'd rather chew on glass.
Right.
So I'm going to leave that up to him.
Right.
Something I do need to work on is maybe to know the numbers a little more. I just focus on bringing in the money, and then he kind of
manages it.
He kind of takes it from there. Right.
Can you talk about that? I like that and then we'll get into each one individually because I want to hear about the law firm and then the mastermind. But talk about that. Did you guys know your strengths automatically, or was it testing? Was it tell us about that process, because the premise of this podcast is for just business owners, no matter the industry, right? And it's a lesson in we won't even go on the working with the spouse, just working with the partner, right? Picking a right partner. Talk about what that looked like. I mean, if it's natural because you guys are married, that's great. That's an okay answer too. But just what are some tips that you can give someone that, might be considering a partnership and looking for someone that has, is it opposite strengths? Is that what?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say to answer your first question about did we know our strengths right away? No, it took me a long time to realize my strengths. So if someone can realize their strengths and what they should be focusing on, it can save you a decade of being miserable. And, when I realized that I was just looking at a computer screen all day long, and I was coming home and I was exhausted and drained and just totally wiped out, and felt like a zombie at the end of the day. Once I transitioned and started doing more networking and being out and about and being with people and meeting with my clients, even being in the courthouse, that's when I realized that, I would end my day energized and motivated, as opposed to, feeling like a zombie, that's what my focus needed to be. So it took me about 8 years to realize that I should not be behind a computer screen all day, researching and writing. And it's not that I'm not great at it. It's just, it takes me a lot more energy. And so my husband and we both done DISC. We both done Y. We're Y certified. And we just have like one more thing to do to be DISC certified. So we use that for understanding who we are, what our strengths and weaknesses are. And, it's taken a long time, but I think with getting into a partnership, you want to find someone who balances you well, right? It doesn't mean that you find a yes man or a yes woman that's just going to say yes to whatever it is that you want to do. But thankfully, because our visions are fully aligned, then, we are, like I said, we're building our empire together, and, any money that comes in, it's ours. I think it is difficult if you're in a partnership where you're not a family, because I've seen best friends and the friendship has been destroyed, and it's tough. But I think if you're going to do it, you want to make sure you have a legal contract, of course, from, even from the criminal lawyer, I would say that. But you want to make sure that you've got a partnership agreement in place, and you want to make sure it's someone that you trust with your life. But business breakups, I mean, that's how the civil litigators stay busy. Yeah. Because it happens a lot. And I personally know some people that have had really bad business breakups, and it's destroyed their friendships. So if someone's looking to get into a partnership, don't enter into it lightly. Take it very seriously. Get all legal documentation and make sure that your visions are fully aligned. Because if they're not, at the end of the day, there will be resentment towards the other partners, and it could destroy a family relationship, or it could destroy a friendship. So it's definitely not something to be taken lightly.
Yeah, no, it is a difficult decision. And I'm sure that even at the time of creating a partnership, if you have those conversations, right, things come up in life that could change, or God forbid a partner gets sick, or a family member goes, and the circumstances in their life change, and so their business, it affects the business, all of that. And that's why it's so important to have the legal side done for those cases, right? You've already planned the exit or the worst case scenario on the entrance. So it's like, it makes it a little bit easier. And like you said, the resentment part, it would be gone. It's you almost make the decision about exits or buyouts or things like that when you're not emotional. Yeah. Right. And the stressors are not high, and the pressure. When you're
happy, when you're excited.
When you think you're going to make $1 billion together. So everything is great. All? You're right. All right. So that's really good advice. Talk to me about Jackwin Legal. Talk to me about being a criminal defense attorney.
So, like I said, I had worked with my dad previously, and I was very blessed to learn a lot from him. I have his mentorship, and really to learn how to treat a client from the very beginning to the very end of the case. And so I treat all my clients as if, they've all paid me $500,000, whether they have or whether they haven't. So for me, I practice something that I call compassionate advocacy, which is zealously advocating on behalf of my clients, going to war when sometimes you've got to fight the good fight, you've got to litigate if you have difficult prosecutors or you can't come to an agreement, but never forgetting that my clients are human beings who are going through the absolute most difficult and scary time of their life, as are their families. Sometimes the family members are even worse than the clients, because they're anxious, they're nervous, they're depressed. And so I'm almost like a therapist with my clients. So I like to balance what I call the mama bear side of me, as well as the shark side of me when I need to go into attack mode and be that zealous advocate and be their voice. So I I really enjoy being able to give people a second chance at freedom, give them a second chance to right any of their indiscretions that they may have made, and make sure that, you know, one wrong decision doesn't become a permanent stain on their record and affect them forever. And I've been able to save a lot of people. So it's definitely stressful. You know, if anyone tells you it's easy peasy, it's definitely not true. When you care, you know, you lose sleep at night, and I genuinely care about all of my clients. I don't want them to be repeat clients. Like, you know, in your industry, you want your clients to be repeat clients. Mine, I want to set them up for success. And whatever the underlying issue may be, whether it's anger, whether it's mental health, whether it's substance abuse, I try and treat that problem, get them to the right experts, whether it's psychiatrists or AA or whatever it may be, substance abuse help, treatment, and to treat that underlying issue so they don't have to come back to me yet again. And most of the time, my clients are typically first-time offenders, and they're set up for success, and they don't see me again. And I tell them, I want you to call me if you're inviting me to your wedding or your baby shower.
A good thing.
Not calling me, hey, Kristen, I got arrested again. You got to get me out of this. Yeah. So that's what I have taken it into my practice. And you know, balancing really the feminine and the masculine energy that I have inside of me. And I think that that's really what differentiates me from other people who they just focus on the legality. And, you know, they forget that these are human beings, and sometimes they want to vent. Sometimes they may cry. Sometimes they may repeat themselves 10 times. But you got to be compassionate, and you've got to be patient with them. That
is so heavy. It's a lot. It's a lot in what you do. And how do you, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was going to ask it anyways. Like, how do you take care of yourself and disconnect? You know, because you're so involved in such a stressful time. I mean, you have, not that you have the power, but you have the knowledge and the expertise to try to help these people, you know, with their second chance. And I'm sure that's not something you take lightly. So, like, how do you just disconnect?
It's hard. Honestly, it's very hard for me, because with any criminal case, you know, you're very engaged. And I do victims work as well, and I do injunctions. So it's all very heavy stuff that you're dealing with. So something that I'm working on this year is to not be, you know, constantly scrolling on my phone, because I'm always checking for new cases, and to be able to shut it off. So my husband and I have a rule: 7:00, we don't talk shop anymore. Yeah, you know, it's just good. We turn it off. Now, if we violated that rule, of course.
Yeah, but it's good. It's. I mean, I used to work with my parents, and when I was much younger, and it really took a toll on our family life until we acknowledged it. Exactly. So that's important. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule, but it is important to have it.
I think setting the boundaries is very important, because you don't want your whole life to be about work. Also, finding the me time, where my husband and I, we will go on trips together. We will go get couples massage, and we'll just, you know, try and unplug. We'll do date nights. So that's what really helps me to unwind. But it certainly can be hard to separate yourself from all of that, especially when you genuinely care. So I'm certainly not perfect. I'm a work in progress, but trying to turn it off at night and just to be more present with him. Like last night, he was like, "Honey, you're on your phone. Just get off your phone." I'm like, "I know. I gotta be off my phone." And I had actually left my phone at a friend's house at a holiday party, and you know what? It was so nice
it's so funny
for 2 days, because she lives all the way in the Gables, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna deal with it until Monday. I'll leave it over the weekend, but naturally, you still have your laptop and your iPad, and you can still see the text coming in. But it was so nice to not be scrolling and to just not feel attached to my phone. Something I definitely need to work on.
Well, we all do.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
But that's something that I want to try again, is, you know, just putting the phone aside, maybe for a whole weekend, not even checking it. It's a little bit difficult in my industry if there is an emergency, you know, because they do come up over the weekend. people don't always get arrested just from 9 to 5, unfortunately.
Oh, they don't? Well, it's very unfortunate for you and your social life.
Yeah. You've got to be on a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's another
Well,
part
that's why it's like, if you're not intentional about taking care of yourself, I mean,
you can burn out.
Just in the area of practice that you're in, high stress already.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
And then working with your husband, building a business with your husband, then it's like you really don't disconnect, because if you guys weren't doing this together, then, you're just like, hey, how was your day? What are you working on? But you know it all. And then it's like shop talk and all that stuff. So it's like double on really for you. So yeah, I would understand how that would have to be like an intentional decision to
set those boundaries.
But even for myself, right? Like I'm just building a business. I don't have the weight of the burdens, and the responsibilities that you carry. And it's
stressful.
It is stressful, but that's my point. Like, I feel like just the business side alone is so draining and so hard and so stressful.
Exhausting.
And then you're fighting for people. So it's like
double
extra.
Whammy.
Yeah, you need extra intentionality with taking care of yourself. So
yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do. So next year, I'm actually going on a women's retreat with my mom.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Europe. We're going to Italy.
Oh, that's great.
Hiking and spa days, and then the husbands are gonna meet up with us, and we're gonna do another week. Still trying to figure out where we're going. And another thing I do is my team knows that my mornings are dedicated to time with my mom. So as long as I don't have court in the mornings, I will work out with my mom. I don't schedule anything before 11 a.m. Sometimes we get breakfast after.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a goal I had this year, was to spend more time with my mom and to work out more. So 2 birds, 1 stone.
I love that. Yeah. Well, honestly too, like, I love that you said that, because we all get into this entrepreneurship thing, right? Because it's the biggest lie that's ever told, of this flexibility of time, and you get to do whatever you want, and freedom of time. No, actually, all of your time 24/7 is consumed by this business, and unless you carve it out, it does not exist.
Exactly.
So doing that like intentionally, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to copy you on that, because I really should. I should.
You should.
And if you think about it,
Please
like,
do.
how can I can, because nobody's telling me what to do.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like, I make my schedule, so I can put that in prior to scheduling a meeting or a breakfast.
Yeah, it's in my manual, so my team knows.
I love that.
Don't schedule me. And you know who violated the policy today? Take a wild guess.
Eric?
No, my dad.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I know.
He said, well, you're not going to breakfast with me, so enough.
Because he brought me on a case.
That's so funny.
And at 10 a.m. he scheduled a meeting. I was like, well, I am still not canceling my 9 a.m. workout with my mom, and you'll get me driving home, in the car and a little sweaty from the workout.
That's so funny.
My Pilates time with my mom is priceless. You can't trade anything for that. Obviously, I can't control when the judges set things in the morning, but
this is also a concept of business and in life too, right? Like, it's balancing and flexibility. You make that as a boundary or a parameter, but there's always exceptions to rules.
Yeah.
And then when you look back and you say, man, out of a whole year, out of 52 weeks, I worked out with my mom an average of 2-3 days a week. That's huge.
I did.
There you go.
Yeah, I have.
That's huge.
I have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's some weeks when I'm really busy, or obviously if there's a client emergency and they need to see me early in the morning, then I'll do it. But I've stayed pretty true to that. So at the very least, it's been once a week that I've seen her from working out.
And you're doing something that's fun and healthy too. So it's check.
Yeah.
Like
and then we go to a healthy breakfast after.
I love that. Talk to me then about the criminal stuff. So what happens if I get arrested? What do I do? This is not legal advice either. So we call you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We need to call you prior.
Call me as soon as possible.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll give you where I was before, why I was running a little bit late. I had a gentleman come in. There was a very serious accusation. I can't get into specifics,
sure.
obviously. Very serious accusation against him. And so he has not been arrested. He has not been approached by police, but he's getting ahead of this because he knows the severity of it, and he doesn't know what to do. God forbid police do approach him. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what the next steps are. So I guide my clients throughout the process, and I get ahead of it so that we can nip it in the bud and hopefully avoid charges altogether. So the sooner the better. If you come to me after you've already been convicted of a felony, then it is really hard for me to undo what another attorney may have done. But if I'm able, I'm a bit of a control freak, so I like to handle things from the very beginning. But
well, that's an advantage for someone that is needing your services. I want you to be involved.
Exactly. It's time sensitive, and
Right.
and I don't want to be cleaning up someone else's
Right.
mess that may, they may not focus on criminal, or they may just not be that great at it. So it's really important for clients to call me as soon as possible, get a consultation scheduled. A lot of the times, even if it's late at night, I will meet with people same day because I understand the urgency of their matters. And I'll do whatever needs to get done to clear my schedule to be able to meet with them. But it's not something to wait on. There's normally a fire that's happening right behind you.
Right, it's coming. Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, that's actually really good advice too. Like if you have a hunch that something's going down, call.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
get in early. Okay. Why? I know that your dad is in criminal law, but is that the sole reason why you got into that area of practice and not any other?
That was definitely my biggest reason. I worked with Dad when I was like 12 years old, and I would answer the phones, and he always has thought that being a lawyer is the best profession in the world. There's not many people that feel that way, but my dad is one of them. So, it's definitely in my blood, in my bones, and I grew up with it. So, and I got to see him always so happy and so passionate. And that was really an amazing experience, growing up to see him in court, see him in trial. And then when I went to law school, it was really the only classes that I enjoyed were criminal procedure, evidence on the criminal side, and criminal law. So those were, and trial advocacy were by far my favorite classes. I've always been good at public speaking. I've always done well in school. So I've been primed at very young age to follow in Dad's footsteps. But he certainly was the big motivating factor behind me going into criminal. I always say civil is anything but civil. Criminal, for the most part, you get your opposing counsel, the prosecutors are very reasonable, and they understand that there's a job to be done, and they're very respectful. So it really is a pleasure working in the criminal defense practice area.
I feel like there's not a lot of women in that area of practice.
There is not.
Talk about that. What does it feel like?
So most of the criminal defense attorneys do not look like moi.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, honestly, how poorly women were treated in the legal industry until I became a part of it. So I became a lawyer in 2015, and so there's been times where people have mistaken me for the criminal defendant, assuming that I'm there to take a plea. Judges have done this. Yeah, very, very, very embarrassing. I once had a judge try to set me up with the prosecutor in open court. Yes.
Like for a date?
Yes. He, after he mistook me for the criminal defendant, he thought I was there to take a plea. And then my father said something he probably shouldn't have. He said, "Oh, well, no, that judge, that's my beautiful daughter who's a lawyer." And then the ball started rolling from there. And then the judge goes, yes, your daughter is beautiful. State, who is a male. What do you think? Do you think
Oh my God.
Do you think that defense is beautiful? And the prosecutor goes, "On the record, I do. You can actually order this transcript." And I'd been in front of this judge for about 5 years, hundreds of times, and he did not know that I was the defense attorney and assumed that I was the defendant. And then he asked me what I thought of the prosecutor. So I was being pimped out by a judge in open court, and this was pre-COVID. So this was, the courthouses were packed. That courtroom was packed.
What did you say?
I wasn't prepared for that, Ciara. I could handle big time felony cases, but you're never prepared. My jaw dropped. I was just like, and I was just
mortified,
shocked. I was totally, totally shocked. And so then finally my dad stepped in and he's like, "She's married." And I'm like, "Judge, I never realized I had to explain my marital status in open court, but I explained to the judge that I'm married, happily married to a fellow attorney." And then I had to go through the entire plea colloquy, which is quite long. And then I ran out of there so fast. I think I walked out like this. And to this day, I don't know what that prosecutor looks like. But these are the kinds of things that happen to women. And, had it been a female judge, I know that she wouldn't be like, say there was a mother there with her son who was an attorney. Oh, your son's so handsome.
Right.
Prosecutor, what do you think? That just wouldn't happen.
No, never.
So unfortunately, I've had situations also where the bailiff will refuse to allow me to go to call my case until I show 2 forms of ID to prove that I was an attorney. But the good thing with Zoom is now I can just put ESQ at the end of my name, and now they know I'm a lawyer.
Oh, that's all it takes?
Yeah. It just took the pandemic and Zoom for them to finally realize that I'm a lawyer. Women can be lawyers. Young women can be lawyers. I started practicing at 24 years old. So people, and I did look young, looked like a baby at the time. So people just didn't think that I was an attorney. I also had really bad situation where there were older attorneys and I was out networking, and I had one guy who essentially asked me to have an affair with him when he knew I was with my now husband. I had another guy who bought me roses and wrote me a love letter that said, "You complete me." This is a practicing criminal defense attorney that's probably older than my dad. So I had this happen 3 times. And so it got to the point where my father was like, "You can't go on networking lunches by yourself. Like, I have to join you," when I was still working with him. And like, how embarrassing is that?
Yeah,
daddy has to go to lunch with me to make sure that I don't get hit on. So I changed, and I've had a lot of things said and just very, inappropriate side comments as well. But what I did was I transitioned my networking efforts to networking with women, amazing people like you, who I don't have to worry that you're going to hit on me. It's.
I mean, you do complete me.
That was a good one.
Listen, we could throw it on a good charcuterie board, you and I.
Yes. You got to put it together. But I think I still have one of your dishes, actually. I think it's turned into my cat bowl.
Go for it. That's fine. But yeah, no, first of all, a shame. And also what a wild way to do business. Like, I know that I've learned doing this podcast that your industry is similar to mine. And I had Suhail on the podcast, and she talked about like the big law and how they expect women, like the work, and how they expect you to stay till they stay. Doesn't matter if you have children, all that thing. Like, I've heard of all that, but this piece, especially, and I'm assuming that your area is even less women.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, there's maybe about 10 that I know. Wow. And so a lot of women don't go into it for whatever reason, stereotypical. I think it's scary, or the clients are going to hurt them. I mean, thankfully all my clients love me and they trust me and they listen to me. And my husband's clients are needier than mine. And, he's dealing with real estate issues and I'm dealing with people's lives for criminal matters, But yeah, I had no idea that these types of things were still happening. In 2015,
it's wild.
It's crazy. So I remember I explained to someone who puts out a newsletter, who's probably in his 70s, and I told him, and he's like, "Well, what are some tips?" And I said, because I had my cell phone number on my business card, so I eliminated that because I had some of these men texting me. And, using it's there for emergency purposes. If my client's getting arrested at 3 a.m. and they've got my card and they can call me, it's not there for
a date.
So and I think that was the problem, is unfortunately these men were seeing what I perceived as networking and building my brand and building my business, my reputation, and they saw it as a date. And all of them were married, by the way. So one of them was married to a lawyer, but they just didn't care. And so I think that there at that time, there wasn't many women who were 24 years old in the legal industry. And so they just kind of pounced on me.
You were fresh meat.
Yeah, I was definitely the fresh meat. I'm happy for that. Maybe because I'm older now, but that hasn't happened in a while. So maybe Mama doesn't have it anymore. But
it's probably because you work with Eric.
Yeah, I don't know, but thankfully that has not happened in a long
time. You're tough though, too. You're tough. You're not. You're not the type to giggle it off.
No, but you know what? When you're in the moment, just like what happened with the judge,
of course,
it's so much different. And then hindsight's 20/20, because you're just in shock when these things are happening, And I went to a CLE to get, our continuing education hours. And I gave this guy a card, and he called me at 8:00 the next night. I was like, oh, he must be calling me for,
business.
For a case. And he's like, oh, I want to take you out on a date. I'm just like,
oh, wow.
No, that was not why I wanted to meet up with you, So unfortunately, that was how I started my career, was with all of this happening kind of all at the same time. And then worrying every time when I go into the courtroom, am I going to be called a defendant, or am I going to be called a lawyer, or do I have to explain that I am a lawyer? And so that was really difficult, because you're already nervous as it is, as a young lawyer, young female lawyer, and there's a bunch of old white guys in the courtroom, or if you're in Miami, Spanish and white guys. But you're already anxious, you're already nervous, you want to do a good job. And then now you have this added layer,
right,
where you have to remind everyone who you are, what you do, and explain yourself every time you walk into the courtroom. So, unfortunately, it messed with my head for a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
And then I started using it to my advantage, where, I look younger. People think I'm inexperienced. I let them do that. And that's when I go in for the kill. Yeah, that's where I go in for the kill, is to never let anyone take advantage of me like that again, and to not get so in my head. And that definitely took time to learn that. But it's definitely been a wild ride since I first started. So.
So now that you've gone through that experience, you've made it out on the other side, what is the piece of advice for that next woman attorney, right? Or woman in business that isn't a male-dominated space, right? My space is male-dominated. I'm sure women in construction go through this all the time.
Women in finance.
Yeah, women in finance, especially the financial advisors, it's mainly men.
Yeah.
What do you think? What would you tell that woman that's just starting and it's affecting her?
I think it's awareness, is me doing what I just did, telling my story,
right,
as opposed to being ashamed of this happening to me, right? So I tell all of the women that I mentor, women that work with me, I tell them these stories, and I say, you need to be careful. Don't trust people and just assume that they're there for the same legitimate purposes that you're there. Don't put your cell phone on your business card. Don't just randomly give it out to people. Make sure that people are there for the same legitimate reasons. And I think the biggest thing is definitely awareness, because my dad didn't have to go through this. My brother, who's also a lawyer, never had to go through being questioned whether they were a lawyer every time they walked into the courtroom, and they didn't have that advice to be able to give me. So I had no idea this kind of thing was even happening. So I tell people, especially if they're halfway decent looking, these kinds of things are probably going to happen. I mean, I'm not sure they're still happening nowadays, but I'm sure they are. No. So I tell people my story, and I make them aware of it. And, I tell them, just don't let this get you down. Keep your head high, use it. Use that as fuel to be able to show them that you are smart, that you are a lawyer, and you deserve to be in that courtroom, and be as prepared as you possibly can to always make them remember that you are a lawyer, so they never question whether you're a lawyer again the next time you walk into the courtroom.
Yeah, that's good advice. Let's talk about Connect Esquire. Let's talk about it. What is it? What does it do?
You know what? There's been so much confusion on Connect Esquire. Is it a networking group? Is it this? Is it that? So it is a mastermind community, and it is for lawyers by lawyers. So we focus on personal and professional development. So of course, networking happens naturally, but the sole focus of it is not referrals. It's about growth. We want people with the right mindset, an abundance mindset, that are looking to make themselves better, and to find a community of people that could help them. So I'll give you a little breakdown of how our meetings work. Either my husband or myself, we do an educational topic. We read a lot of books, so I see traction. So we read books like that. Whether it's Think and Grow Rich, Building a Story Brand, The Go-Giver. Those are the kinds of books that we read. E-Myth for attorneys. And so it's all about making you better. And so we focus on different topics, whether it is branding, networking, numbers, building strong connections, sales. And so each meeting is very different. A lot of times we will incorporate a book as well, and our members will read the book. And then what we do is we go around and we ask people, based on whatever the topic is, team and culture, how do you do this in your business, or how do you do this personally, depending on whatever the presentation is about. And so we've been tweaking it a lot, but we spend a lot of our time allowing the members to go and to talk things out, so that they're getting the help and support that they need. So especially people who are just starting off in a law firm, it's owners, because we've found that a lot of people who are at the associate level, unfortunately, they don't show up, or they don't have that entrepreneurial mindset just yet. So they're not necessarily the best fit for us, but when they're looking to start their own firm, then that's definitely it. But we're a mastermind community where people can come together. We can talk about different ideas, and we're focused on growth.
And so tell me how a meeting works.
Okay. So what we do is we start off with positivity. We start off with our wins.
I love that.
Each person goes
How
around.
often?
We meet once a month.
Okay.
And we have groups in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale, and we have a Zoom group as well. And so we start off where people, of course, introduce themselves. They tell us what their win for the week is. If they want to go further beyond the week, that's fine too. And they tell us their tagline. And as you know, I'm very good at helping people come up with their taglines. So we had a meeting focusing on their brand and their tagline. A lot of people have used their tagline now in their marketing. Sometimes some people forget their taglines, like, well, then that one doesn't work.
Yeah.
Clearly,
if it doesn't stick, it doesn't work.
Then you got to change it. So then what we do is we do a presentation, and like what I said, the different parts of a business, whether it's mindset, whether it's branding, marketing, networking, sales, numbers, or if we're doing a deep dive on a book. This past month, what we did was we're focused on goals, right? And not what goals do I want to achieve in 2025, but who is it that I need to be in order to achieve the goals?
Way deeper question.
Want? Exactly. Because I think that a lot of people are asking the wrong questions. What do I want? What are the goals that I want? And that's what most coaching companies will ask you. But who is it that I need to be? What is it that I need to work on? What books do I need to read? Who do I need to bring into my network? Who do I need to hire? I know you've read 10X is better than 2X. Yeah.
The best book I've ever read.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So
the trilogy of it. That one mixed with The Gap and the Gain and Who Not How literally have changed my year. Yeah, it changed my life and changed my year because, as an entrepreneur starting out, you realize you're wearing all the hats.
Yep.
And then you're at capacity and it's deflating because you can't make progress, but you have to sit back, and you only do that when you work on the business.
Yeah.
And new entrepreneurs don't work on the business because they don't have the time to, or they don't know how to.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. I always use the pizza shop, right? The person that opens a pizza shop is because they love pizza. Yeah. Not because they want to run a business.
Yeah.
Right. So it's this idea of, and finally, when I read the Who Not How, I realized, oh, well, you're at capacity. It's not how am I going to get to the next level?
Who's going to get you
there?
It's
who is going to get me there.
Yeah.
And I hired 3 people.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it all myself because I'm a control freak. Owning a business has taught me I'm a control freak.
You were making all the pizza.
I was making all the pizza. I didn't want anybody else to do it. And so I realized, well, okay, I mean, that's cool, but you're never going to grow or scale or have any of your time back.
And you're going to get paid like a pizza chef.
Exactly.
Right.
So I don't mean to take over, but yes, that book, I love that 10X book. Because
those are some things that we discuss at our meetings.
It's so good. It's so good because nobody teaches you. They don't teach this in school. Nobody teaches you this. And then also there's a component of read, learn. You have to absorb it all. But at some point,
you got to do
the action piece. At some point, it's enough learning and it's the doing, because you only accomplish any of what you learn by doing. And I think that's like another layer of that they don't teach you. Like, somebody's got to push you off the ledge. You got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that leads me into perfect segue. I'll give you a 20 later for that perfect segue. That leads me into Connect Esquire 2.0, which is going to be launched soon. And we're calling it Limitless. Limitless Wealth, Abundance, and Prosperity. WAP. But
nice.
A different kind of WAP.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's where we help empower attorneys to be able to create limitless wealth, abundance, and prosperity. And one of the books that we're going to be reading, one of our modules that Eric created, because that's not how my brain works to create modules, is how to 10x your life. And so what we're going to be doing, so right now we've got our group masterminding over lunch, and this is going to be a 4-hour intensive masterminding where it's more individualized and people can bring specific issues that they have, and have about 30 minutes to go through it with a group of curated high-level attorney business owners with a net worth or grossing around $1 million. So you're at a different caliber when it comes to the Limitless version of Connect Esquire. So we're very excited about that. And it's going to be category exclusive because it's like, Coke and Pepsi don't want to be in the same group sharing their trade secrets.
Correct.
So that's why we feel we don't do category exclusive in our 1.0 or our accelerators is what we call them. But for Limitless, we are going to do it category exclusive with a maximum of only 10 people. So everyone has a dedicated time that they need to be able to speak to other people who have already been through it or are going through the same struggles right now and help get them 5, 10, 15 years ahead of where they would be had they had to do it on their own. And that's exactly what this group is about. It's about bringing people together to collaborate. And that's why for the 1.0 group, because it's not the category exclusive. We're about an abundance mindset. There's plenty to go around for everyone, and we're not a referral-based group, but the referrals happen because people are open and people are vulnerable, and we don't always have to be these perfect lawyers with this perfect law firm. Not all of us are. We've got A+ employees, A+ clients making $10 million a year. I don't know a single lawyer like that, right? That's maybe the only person that doesn't need Connect Esquire, but everyone else, in the legal field, they do. And it's just really nice to come together and be able to help support one another, to give value and to receive value. And those are the kind of people that we're looking for. If anyone's there just to take, or I just want to receive referrals, we're not the group for you.
It's funny because usually those people that go in there with that take, they eventually weed themselves out because they just can't handle the authenticity.
Yeah. And we've gotten rid of a lot of them.
It happens. It happens because it's so wild to me to watch people try to grow their businesses that way. And I'm just like, man, if you just help and be yourself. Yeah. Like that's also like a persona, right? I don't know. That's so weird, but every networking group or every group has those people. Yeah. Right. And there's some people that are really good at, I don't know if you guys interview or like vet, I'm assuming so. If you do that, then there's there's people that interview very well.
I personally know every single person that has come through Connect Esquire. So I've known them on a personal level because I'm the rainmaker and I'm the hustler. So I've been the one who has brought in probably about 90%, 95% of our membership. So I know that there are good quality people who are looking to grow personally and professionally, and they're not just takers. And then the people that, they were in it for the wrong reasons, like you said, they've weeded themselves out, and it's okay. We're just not a good fit for them, and that's fine. There's plenty of other groups that they can join for that specific purpose. And we are always trying to provide as much value as we possibly can. We're givers. We live by the go-giver mentality. And one of our members was adding criminal defense to her practice. I gave her every single workflow template, my manual, everything that I possibly could. Some of my friends were like, "Why would you do that? She's your competition." I'm like, no, she's not. We don't. There's plenty of business to go around, and maybe a potential client that would go to her, they wouldn't like me, right? And vice versa.
And you guys could even refer cases to each other.
Exactly, yeah.
Like maybe it's there's so many aspects in the criminal, like me. Like I don't do homeowners insurance, right? Exactly. So if someone sends it to me, I refer it out.
You've got your people. Right. I've got my people too. I mean, my dad just referred me a case earlier this week. So I think that we are really focusing on people who live out the go-giver, the abundance mindset. And I'm telling you, when you go to a meeting and it's a good meeting where people are being open, and most of them are, I would say majority of them are. Sometimes you have some people not show up, and that's when the energy is lacking. But when we have people there and being open and vulnerable, I mean, I've cried at meetings, other people have cried at meetings, and it's almost like a therapy session.
Absolutely.
But it's magical. It really is magical.
I think what people don't understand about being in business is how lonely it is.
It is. It definitely is.
It's very lonely. So to be in a room with people that get it, and that want to help.
Yeah.
Because there's people that get it but don't care to help.
Exactly.
Get it, want to help. You're with them consistently once a month at minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like there's power in that. I'm a big advocate in my industry of helping, because I feel like what I would regret is someone coming into this and giving up on themselves because they didn't have support.
Yeah.
Like I never want that to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
It's sad.
It is because, had somebody just lend a helping hand, maybe they were making their dreams come true.
Yeah.
Right? You, it's one of those things where I've had incredible mentors. You obviously had as well. And it's one of those things of like, you can get mentorship, but at some point you have the responsibility to give it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm super passionate about that because of that. Like I would just hate to have someone know of someone, or even someone personally that is a friend of mine, like not accomplish their dream or see a goal come true because they felt unsupported or they felt isolated.
Yeah.
They didn't have the help. So I love, obviously in my industry, there's groups like that. There's immense value in finding a group that can really help. You use them as a soundboard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's powerful.
They're a board of directors that you never
I was just going to say that. It's board of directors that you have access to. Guarantee it's nice because they're on all different walks, right? Some might be ahead, some might be after you, right?
Yeah.
So the conversations are honest and flowing. It really, I would say if you're new in business, that is absolutely find the group for you that fits what you're looking for. And they're all not the same. Right.
Yeah,
right.
Find your people.
And that's why there's
community.
so many groups. There's so many different, if you're concerned about referrals, then find the right referral group for you.
Exactly.
If you need the business mentorship, and this sounds like it's accessible, right? Like a lot of business coaching too is in high six figures, right? Like, someone's got to start somewhere, right? Like, let's chill out with that too. Then it's almost,
minimum like 1,500 to 3,500 I've seen per month. So
I mean,
it's
a new attorney starting out. That's hard.
Yeah.
To have that budget.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's super powerful. Tell me about how hard it is to build a community.
It's tough. Lawyers are very difficult members to have.
You can say that because you are one.
I will definitely say that. I did not realize how difficult it is to convince lawyers to do anything. We were a new community starting out. Thankfully, I've built a good reputation in the community. But people are going to get you on everything from price to how long have you been around. So it was really tough. I had to hustle a lot of people. I mean, hustle in a good way. I don't want to make it sound like I'm scamming anyone.
Yeah, better not.
But, I mean like rallying the troops when I say that. But we had a pretty big launch. We launched with 5 chapters and 55 members, but that was relentless reaching out to people nonstop. I'm sure I've annoyed a lot of people, but that's just my personality. I don't care if someone is going to say no once or I keep going. And of course if someone says, hey, no thanks, I'm not interested, I don't bother people. But yeah, it was very difficult to bring in the first group of people, and it was all from my connections, because remember, I'm the people person. Eric is not. So really the weight of our organization when it came to membership all fell on me. So it was a lot. It's very difficult. And so anyone looking to start any kind of organization, whether it's networking, whether it's mastermind, whether it's coaching, it's not easy. And it takes a lot of work, and also making sure you've got good quality meetings every single time.
I can imagine. Engaging. I mean, I don't know if it's 12 meetings or, 10 meetings, whatever. I mean, that's the programming aspect of it.
It's
is
a lot
difficult.
of time.
Yeah.
It's very, very time consuming, but we love it. And every time when I walk out of a meeting, I instantly feel inspired and motivated, and it really feels like magic. So it's all worth it in the end. And, we're really excited about the 2.0 version to be able to get out there and to help more people.
I love that. I love that 2.0 version too, because there's so many stages to this, right? And I'm such a strong believer in the having the group around you for every stage.
Yeah.
And at that level, your stage changes. Obviously, your needs change, your problems change.
Different issues. More money, more problems.
Different issues. I know, obviously, you do a lot of networking. What's your best piece of networking advice that you could give someone?
My best piece of networking advice would be, don't focus on yourself. Focus on the other person. How is it that you can help them? And, it doesn't have to be you give them a referral. Who can you connect them to? Who is it that they are looking to meet that will help them with their industry? And really listen to them. Don't sit there and talk. And that was something that was very hard for me to learn, because I'm a talker. I'm a people person. But sit back and listen. Be present. Don't be on your phone. Don't be thinking about the next thing that you have to do throughout the day. But be present, be engaged, and focus on how you can help them, how you can give to them, as opposed to just focusing on what is in this for you. I think that most people know, if you're going on, like, grabbing coffee, or you're grabbing lunch or dinner or happy hour, whatever, people know that it's a transactional interaction, right? But I think that that's obvious to majority of people. But going in to see how is it that I can help support you, and having that be your main focus and leading with that, that's how I've built my reputation. We don't do Google AdWords, we don't do SEO, we don't do any paid marketing. Everything has been built through all of my connections, and half the time I don't even know where these referrals are coming from. They're like, oh, well, this law firm referred you, or this person referred you. I don't know who that person is. But it's because I have focused on building a strong reputation and constantly giving to others. And of course, you've got to do a good job once you get the referral as well. But that has helped me in my business, and I get consistent business. Now, I get lulls every now and again, but for the most part, we have stayed, and this is my first full year being on my own in my own practice, and we have stayed consistently busy. So I feel very blessed.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice too, because it's especially for people that are new at networking and they're so nervous to walk into a room full of people. They're insecure, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Networking, I guess I'm sort of a people person. Like, once I know you, like, I'm super people person, but I didn't realize how difficult networking was for people. Like, the concept of, like, walking into a room or a happy hour.
It's so weird to me. It's so easy.
Right? Like, even though I'm not like a people person to the extent that you are, but like, I can get by and I could do just fine at an event, but
everyone loves you. You kidding me?
Thank you. You know what has made it easier besides cutting back on the networking I was doing, because I was, like, burnt out.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, woo-woo to say this, but honestly, I feel like if I could say the one thing that has made it more enjoyable and more successful for me is being myself.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Which is weird, right? Which is such
genuine.
It's such a basic concept, and I've always been myself. Like, I've been genuine, and I love to give referrals to people. Like, it excites me probably more than getting them, right? Like, I just love to help other people grow their business, but, like, being able to, you know what, if I'm not in the mood to wear heels today and I'm going to wear, like, my pantsuit with sneakers today, that's the version of me you're getting. It's because that's who I am. Yeah. That kind of, like, sometimes I'd be like, oh, I'm going to this event in this place. Like, I got to dress a certain way, because I've always, personality wise, yes, it's easy for me to be myself, but I think I've even just tried to be even more authentic, like, leaning into it.
Yeah.
And I think it's been easier, and I've had more success.
Yeah. I would say to those people that are intimidated and maybe networking doesn't come naturally for you. full transparency, I don't think anyone enjoys going to a random happy hour where you don't know anyone.
Correct.
You're getting cards shoved down your throat.
The worst.
That makes me uncomfortable. So I think that it's finding an intimate setting where you feel comfortable, and not starting off with a big 200-person event where you don't know a single person. And if you are going to go to those, bring a networking buddy. Someone like you, someone like me, who maybe knows a lot of people. They're the life of the party there, and they can introduce you to people, so it doesn't seem so awkward. But join an organization where it's more intimate, and it's easier to connect with people than just going to a large random event. 'Cause when I first started practicing, I was trying anything and seeing what would stick. And I was burning myself out.
Right.
And I was going to all of these events and not really meeting quality people. And then I decided to join more structured organizations. And that was where the everything started to flow a lot better. And I was able to meet with people one-on-one, whether it's over coffee or a lunch, and then you really get to know people on a deeper level. And that's important too. If you're going to join a networking organization and just show up once a month, you're not going to get anything out of that. Or if you're never even showing up and you expect people to give you referrals, it's not going to happen. But if you're very intentional and you're there meeting with all of the members or meeting with other people and seeing how you can support them, then that makes it a lot easier to go to the meetings too. Because I know, some people, it's like they've got to brace themselves before they go to a meeting or an event. And I think too, if you do go to an event, it's always important to have a strategy, right? So what is it that, say you're not a big people person. All right, I want to meet 3 people and have quality conversations with them, 3 referral partners, get their card, and set up 3 follow-up lunches. And then once I do that, I can go home, right? Have a game plan, as opposed to let me just go and have a couple of glasses of wine and see who I meet. Be very intentional for whatever you do, because then, it's called networking for a reason, not net fun. Yeah. So, I mean, it is work. I think it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but you got to go there with a plan of action and not just
and I don't think enough people don't do that.
No,
for
no one does that.
Nobody does that. And I would say too, to add to Kristen's point about the connecting with, set a number, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to have 10 terrible conversations. Exactly. Have 3 really good conversations, connect, and follow up and connect with them on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Find them online, because that's this hybrid world. That's where we're going. The networking you're doing in person, move it to online. Because if you're constantly posting really good content about your industry, about your expertise, about highlighting referral partners that you work with, anything like that, right? You're living top of mind.
Yes.
Then
exactly.
It went from that networking event I didn't want to go to then, I met this person and look at what they're doing in the community. Maybe they'll find out, this person, I know this person. Like, why don't we all go to lunch? That I think it's so underestimated, that part of the power of bringing the networking onto the socials.
Yeah.
Like, marry the two. Don't isolate them.
Yeah.
Also, it helps build your brand when you're connected and you're showing that you're here at this place and you're connected here. You're growing your business. You're growing your network. The reality, and the more social media, the more internet we get, the more people want to see what people are doing.
Yeah. It's not going away.
It's not going away. So lean into it, right?
Absolutely.
Lean into it. Last question for you. Tagline. Tell a new business owner, what's the secret sauce to getting a good tagline?
So I would say for the tagline is, how are you going to help them? Use a word like help or empower. Think of who is the big bad wolf, right? That you're trying to go against, that you're trying to help your clients with. It doesn't have to be a person. Like, for me, it could be the government, right? For you, it could be the changes in the laws. It could be procrastination. It could be bad employees. There's a bunch of different things that it could be. But think of, where are the pain points that my client is facing? And then what is it that I can do to help them? And how can I show them the journey? So my tagline for Jackwin Legal is, we take you from arrest to criminal justice success.
So good.
Thank you. The arrest is the big bad wolf, right? And that's the scary part. And I'm showing them the process of how I take them from the handcuffs to the very end, where there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So if anyone wants some one-on-one
well, I think
coaching, I'm happy to help.
I think the best part about it is that it makes you memorable, right? Yeah. Because if I heard that 12 times a year, being Connect Esquire, what you do, okay, criminal law, okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
Criminal law is also very big.
Yeah.
Automatically, people that are not in that space, we think the absolute worst, right? You think murder. Yeah. No, there's so much in between, right?
I'm not representing murders and rapists all the time. Right. That's how everyone thinks that I do. It's not like TV.
Right. So that's what we all think. But when you say that, right, your arrest to criminal justice success.
Yeah, you got it perfectly.
Look at that. I mean, immediately I'm like, oh, so anybody arrested.
Yeah, of course.
So it is a way to live in people's minds.
Yes.
That is memorable, especially yours. Obviously, you stand out a little bit more, but like imagine an estate planning attorney that has a good tagline like that, right? A real estate attorney. How many people know real estate attorneys, or, personal injury attorneys, the ones that there's a bunch. How do you stand out?
Yeah.
The tagline really helps.
Yeah, and you put it on your website, you put it on your signature line.
And you say it.
And I do. And look, it took me a long time because I've had a couple, and it took me a long time to keep tweaking it. And that's ultimately one day it just popped in my head, and there it was.
It's great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Finally, I'm so happy this finally happened and we got it done.
Me too.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
So you can find me on connectesquire.com, jackwinlegal.com. You can find me on TikTok, Kristen Reynoso. You can also find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. And if you ever need help with your tagline, happy to help.
I'll put it all in the show notes too for everyone.
Perfect.
So thank you again. And we got to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.